Thank you for inviting me to talk today. My presentation starts with the comment that Canada is under a chemical attack thanks to pesticides like glyphosate. We are eating it, we cannot test it, it is killing us slowly, and politicians are responsible. These are factors about glyphosate you need to be conscious about and consider acting upon. The best way to stay in touch with my work in this line is to keep track of my blog at www.tonu.org. Through corruption in politics, our democracy has been brought into peril. All living creatures now are up for grabs, and we are not just having problems with food. Everything that has any value, any living creature that has any value, whether it's your food or as a grass or your alfalfa or trees in the forest or what have you, plan is for all these living organisms to belong to a patent holding foreign corporation and no more be a product of Canada or God's creation. This is in essence an attack on Canadian sovereignty and an assault on nature. The very democracy of Canada is being converted or being engineered to be Roundup ready. It should be the duty of all freedom-loving Canadians to stand up and resist this outrage. Science? What science? Science is no more public funded. We have stopped paying our tax dollars to support science. Science is now entirely funded by the industry, and the industry is not interested to fund any scientist that finds a problem with their products. Science has therefore become censored, biased, intolerant. Any scientist that finds any problem with any of these biotech products such as GMO or pesticide, he is vilified, his papers are retracted, he is fired, his lab is shut down. There is so much of vendetta against him. He's been made persona non grata, discredited, is hounded out of the academic circle. Science has become intolerant, biased, and censored. It has lost its objectivity and neutrality. Our politicians are also muzzling scientists. Scientists are not allowed to talk to the people anymore about what they think or what they find in their line of work. They are supposed to take permission of the politicians before they can speak to the public. Scientists are working in an environment of fear and intimidation, reminiscent of the days of the Stalinist era in Soviet Union. And we have brought that atmosphere inside Canada today in science. Corporate influence in Canadian politics is pervasive and it is killing our democracy. Canadian politicians are writing laws that allow unprecedented power and influence to foreign corporations to essentially subvert our democracy. Provincial and federal governments are becoming insensitive to people's concerns and too beholden to corporations. Municipal governments are the only ones still within our reach to influence. British Columbia is setting an example in this effort. But the story about people's fight back against corporatocracy in Canada starts with the Municipality of Hudson in the year 1991. Hudson set the precedence by banning cosmetic use of pesticides in 1991. Although those pesticides were all approved by Health Canada in Ottawa, they survived legal challenge for 10 years all the way to the Supreme Court and won every one of them. This effort was spearheaded by a single woman, not a councillor, just an ordinary person and a dermatologist, June Irwin of Hudson. Today she is still alive, more than 80 years old, and a heroine of Canada. Hudson proved that, number one, You can ban a substance even if it is approved by Health Canada in Ottawa. And two, you do not need to scientifically prove that this product causes that disease. All you have to do is harbor a reasonable doubt that the product is harmful for health, and that should be enough reason for you to be able to ban it within your community, within your municipality, irrespective of its approval by Ottawa. Banning of GMOs and pesticides in Canada has started already in BC at the municipal level. Municipality after municipality are passing resolution to be GMO free. 24 municipalities have already passed that resolution, spearheaded by Richmond, with the following resolution. The Municipality of Richmond hereby opposes the cultivation of genetically engineered plants and trees in the Municipality of Richmond, with the exception of 3 existing dairy farm GMO corn crops found prior to this resolution. That means there were 3 farmers who were growing GMO corn, and they will be grandfathered in and still allowed to grow them for now. If they sell the farm, the new guys will not be allowed to do that. And from this resolution forward, no GM crops, trees, or plants will be grown in the Municipality of Richmond. This also includes GM fruit trees, all GM plants and shrubbery, GM vegetables, GM commodity crops, and any and all field tests for medical experimental GM crops. Another resolution in similar lines has been brought up in the Union of British Columbia Municipalities, UBCM, last June, and it passed there. Hotly debated topic 6040, that UBCM asked the British Columbia government to legislate the prohibition of importing, exporting, and growing plants and seeds containing genetically engineered DNA and raising GE animals within BC, and to declare through legislation that BC is a GE free area with respect to all plants and animal species. Harold Steve of Richmond started the way. He is an organic farmer and councillor from the city of Richmond, and his efforts brought forward the first resolution for Richmond to be GMO free, which started a cascading events of many more towns following suit. Harold Steve should be considered a national hero in Canada, but our mainstream media has abandoned us, and therefore he remains an unsung hero. Harold Steves and people like Alan Patton and others pushed it through the UBCM, and they deserve our applaud and credit for it. Alan Patton is also a farmer and an apple grower in Okanagan Valley and Oliver area who has been trying to bring this motion to FCM, Federation of Canadian Municipalities, for an up and down vote. He has not succeeded last 2 years to bring it to the FCM table. There is a lot of resistance to it. We hope that one day soon he will succeed in doing that. You can hear both these gentlemen on my blog talking to me about these issues. Now we come to the important topic of glyphosate testing for Canadians. Our government keeps saying that glyphosate is safe within its limits, but nobody is testing Canadian people or our food for presence of glyphosate. Canada has no labs that will test glyphosate in humans or in our food. So therefore we do not know, we cannot test if we have been poisoned by glyphosate and which part of our food system contains this glyphosate. Most other countries in first, second and third world have such labs, but we in Canada do not. Canadian politicians are either ignorant about it or they simply tap dance around the issue. So in order to solve the problem, I had called all registered Canadian labs, more than 250 of them, trying to coax one of them to agree to test Canadians' body fluids as well as food. Unsuccessfully so far. Not one of them would do it. There are about a dozen labs who will test for glyphosate, but only in water and soil. They will not touch human body fluids and they will not touch food. So I ended up calling all the registered labs in USA, almost more than 350 of them, trying to coast one of them to offer a cheaper deal for Canadians because we don't have a lab here and our medical insurance and hospitals will probably not cover it. They never wanted to test Canadian food or people for glyphosate. So citizens have to pay for it themselves. The cost of the test can be over $100 to over $300 depending on sensitivity and method used. And that's really almost out of range for low-income Canadian groups who are likely more susceptible to glyphosate poisoning. So I ended up requesting all the labs to take pity on us and give a good deal. And one lab in New York turned around and said they would do so for us at no extra charge from their side, no, at free of charge, except for incidental costs. That turned out to be about $28.50 per test in a batch of 40 using ELISA kits from a lab in New York. So we started getting organized and in batches of 40 to be sent from different towns. There were people from Toronto and Edmonton and all getting together, local 40 samples. I was doing that in Vancouver. And this news got out. And unfortunately, the lab was put under pressure and they canceled the services and refunded us the money that we had already ordered through our credit card. So our effort to get some lab offer some deal that Canadian citizens could use to test themselves if they've been poisoned and which part of their food is the poison is coming from has failed so far. But if enough people ask their doctors for testing their breast milk or urine on blood or food items such as milk or bread and meat and cooking oil and tofu, etc., some lab may take notice and start offering this service. This effort has already started in Ontario with two young mothers, Courtney and Natasha, who have asked their doctors, their caregivers, or their midwife agencies to request for glyphosate testing in their blood or in the breast milk of nursing mothers. Hopefully, if enough people start asking, enough doctors start asking, enough hospitals start asking, somebody will take notice and Canadians will have a lab that offers this service. This effort has already started from the grassroots from two lovely women of London, Ontario, Courtney and Natasha. I request all of you to consider following suit by asking your doctors to please allow your blood, urine, or your breast milk, if you are a nursing mother, to be tested for presence of glyphosate, as well as your food, such as your store-bought milk or cooking oil or bread or meat, to be tested for presence of glyphosate. And that brings us to the topic of political activism at the municipal level and what I've been trying to do in my own municipality. British Columbia is having an election on May 15th, all municipalities, and I asked all the candidates in my town, Delta, BC, one question: whether they will support a resolution for Delta to be GMO free. Delta has not yet gone GMO free. They have done many other things. They have banned lawn pesticides from being used or being sold in the stores and so on. But they have not yet passed resolution to be GMO free. And Delta has a lot of agricultural holding lands. So I asked them that one question. I told them it was public. I will put it up on the web. Whether they answer, don't answer, answer in support, answer against, let the public know. Many of the councillors sat on the fence and refused to answer. So I put it up on the web in a chart that these people will not comment and therefore they get my thumb down. One should not vote for them. And then there were 5 candidates who came out openly in support of that resolution. They knew about the subject and they said they would strongly support such a resolution, and I put them up with a yellow name color against their rows, and suggesting that these people should vote for. And then during the public meeting of the candidates, I passed a written resolution to one of them, Ian Perrin, to ask him whether he would support a resolution. He was one of the silent ones who had not responded. And he gave a wishy-washy answer. Basically, he would not support such a resolution. And he tried to also ridicule or make snide comments about Richmond, who had already done so. So I updated my blog, put a black color across his row, and said, "This is, a politician who will not support a GMO-free resolution. Black mark against him. One should not vote for him. And I personally think this candidate deserves to be an unemployed politician." That brought back a somewhat nasty response from him by email, and of course I informed all of them that I'm putting up their status. So that brought a nasty response from this gentleman. I put that up on the blog, and boom, there were lots of hits, and people got to know that these candidates, they can get nasty if you simply ask them this honest question whether they will pass GMO-free resolution, and if you judge them to be unsuitable for your vote, they get nasty. So this caused somehow the mayor of Delta to respond, who had not earlier responded to the same question. She was also sitting on the fence, but her response I found to be arrogant, dismissive, and snide. So therefore I put a black mark against her and said that this is another politician that will not support such a resolution in Delta, and therefore I consider her to be not suitable to be a mayor and should be exposed. However, she will be a mayor because she is standing unchallenged. Nobody is challenging her. She is apparently so powerful that nobody can defeat her. I think it's a mockery of democracy, but nonetheless, that's not her fault if nobody else stands for election. And although she will remain my mayor for the next 4 years, I intend to remain a pain in her side till such time she sees the light and the wish of the people, and not just wish of the farmers. So anyhow, she will do what she thinks she will have to do as a politician, and I will do what I have to do as a citizen. I think that she is a candidate that should become an unemployed politician, because she assumes she has the authority to decide what is good for the people, instead of being a public servant where her duty is to follow the wish of the people and not decide on behalf of the people. And that brings me to the concluding section of this slide. It is the duty for us, the citizens of Canada, to remind politicians that they are not dictators but public servants. Their job is not to make decisions on GMO and pesticide. It is for us, the people, to decide whether we like GMO and pesticides or we do not like. It is for us, the people, to inform the politicians of our wishes, and the politicians' duty to carry out our wishes. It's as simple as that. They're public servants. Sometimes politicians forget themselves and think that they are dictators or supreme rulers appointed by God and so on. And in those cases, it becomes necessary for us to put such uppity politicians in their place. Now we come to elected politicians in Ontario, and I'm very happy to note that they are coming out of the woodwork in support of GMO-free resolution and what has been going on in BC. At least 3 of them have approached us directly and stated their position. I will name them here one by one. One of them is Miss Linda Ridholm, is a councillor from Thunder Bay in Ontario. She came to see us separately and talked to us for more than an hour, almost 2 hours, and took down all the notes of what's been happening in BC and the resolution and so on, and what Alan Paton has been trying to do by bringing in the motion to FCM. She harbors a wish to use her tenure in the next 4 years. Their election has just got over, to make Thunder Bay, if possible, the first Ontario municipality to go GMO free. Apart from that, she also wants to see if the resolution for GMO free motion can be somehow slipped into the FCM annual general meeting. And she is coming to BC in the next few months in Burnaby area to meet up and catch up on these issues. So that's Linda Ridholm, a councillor from Thunder Bay. Then there is Steve Black, Mayor-elect of Timmins, Ontario. He made a public statement. He attended our talk show and he took the mic and made a public statement to everyone that he intends to check up the wordings of the resolution in for instance, Richmond, and work towards seeing this also done, if possible, in Timmins in his tenure of the next 4 years. And he got a thunderous applause from the people for that. That's Steve Black, 32-year-old mayor-elect of Timmins. And then the third elected politician, Michael Van Holst of London, Ontario. He also attended one of our talk shows, and then he came to see us, shake hands, and not only showed interest in the issue of GMO-free resolution, he also showed interest to see if a lab could be set up somewhere in London that would test Canadians, both their body fluids as well as food, for glyphosate. He was so interested that he actually met us next day again at breakfast before we left the town of London. So these are the three elected politicians of Ontario wanting to bring a change, and I can see a telltale sign that Ontario might become the next wave after BC in going GMO free. Linda Ridholm of Thunder Bay, Steve Black of Timmins, and Michael Van Holst of London. I hope that Ontario can join hands with BC and in building a Canada-sized coffin for GMO and glyphosate. And that brings us to this DVD disc. If anybody is interested to read up a lot more on GMO and related issues, all the science papers and different regions are doing what. There are more than 400 files, all collected by me. They're all available either directly online or sent to me by scientists and so on, relating to GMO and relating to what people are doing about it around the world. And if it's probably more material than you can read in a lifetime easily, but you can pick and choose according to the folders. And for instance, there are 16 books or booklets on GMO. These are all royalty free. That means that they are old enough to be royalty free, or they are fresh, young, new, but are distributed freely. And then there are news articles. There are regions and groups, different parts of the world, what's happening. More than 200 files there. Under science section, there are 10 subfolders with more than 160 files. My own creation from the blog, etc., are over 40 files of text, audio, and video. So that's we are selling it for $10. If anybody is interested, can pick up one. It costs about $2.50 or so to make the DVD. The rest of it goes towards collecting funds for glyphosate testing. And that brings me to the last slide of this presentation. It's a picture taken by me in my backyard. It's a small bird, a wren, that has picked up an insect, a spider, to feed its babies, to feed its chicks. All these creatures are in threat of extinction or damage due to the avalanche of pesticides and poisons that we are spewing all over the place. And it is our duty, we the people of Canada can save Canada from chemical poisoning. Politicians will not do that, especially high politicians in provincial and federal governments will not do that. The lower ones in the municipalities might, if you work with them. We owe it to ourselves and our children and our nature to save Canada from chemical poisoning. And I hope that after this presentation you will agree that we all need to do something about it. Thank you.